Today's show is sponsored by CaskCartel.com, your premium spirits marketplace. It's so convenient. Go to CaskCartel.com, get your spirits shipped directly to your door. Yes, some of the allocated stuff is going to cost more, but it is a convenience play. You can sit at home. You don't have to go to a raffle. You don't have to camp out overnight. You can get premium spirits delivered directly to your door. And obviously those daily drinkers, they are going to be more on par with what you pay in the store. So check them out at CaskCartel.com and follow them on Instagram at CaskCartel. They're always doing awesome giveaways for their followers. Today's show is also sponsored by PremiumBarProducts.com, your number one source for laser etched glassware and barware. It is also the place you can go to get the official Dad's Drinking Bourbon Glencairn. What better gift to give someone than customized laser etched glassware? They have all sorts of glasses: the Glen, the Wee Glen, the Tua, the Neat Glass, the Tipsy Rocks glass, the Kenzie Dram. That's the one everybody wants to get. They have all sorts of glasses there, as well as bar tools. Go to PremiumBarProducts.com and check them out. I actually have something. I wanted to do this on the last show. I have a cold open and I remember what it is. You ready for this?
Cold open, warm bosom?
I always got a warm bosom for you. But this has to do with the fact that the last time we saw each other, we don't get to see each other very often. I see you virtually. We ran into each other at Elixir Spirits. I had my daughter with me. I was just running in to get something real quick. And I gave her my phone. And you realized what she was playing on my phone. And I'm surprised you have not brought this up sooner than now.
I mean, I felt like it was a low spot. If you really got to use the kid to win at Mario Kart, John, I can't even pick on you for that.
But like, you accused me of purchasing a whole bunch of other stuff. And frankly, she's 4. She doesn't race very well.
Well, she does take after you, evidently.
My favorite thing to do is wait until you try to sip your water or a drink or anything. And I just say something that I know is going to make you do a spit take. You got nothing? All right.
Oh, I thought you were still talking.
No, I wasn't talking, but
you always do this thing where you just like fall off the side of the cliff, like like in the cartoons, when the guy's walking, all of a sudden he hits like the pothole or whatever and disappears. That's you, like with your funny stories half the time. So I was doing this thing, and then I tell you about littering and.
My hope is that this was going to be interactive and that I was basically lobbing the ball up to you and then you were going to give me a lot of shit for it, but you didn't really bite.
That's like lobbing it up when the other team's like checking his shorts for sand or something. I don't know.
Then point Edwards. That means the ball fell on your side of the court and I win.
Yeah, then somebody's like, sorry, they already called timeout, doofus. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
That's the sound of John falling in the pothole as he's just.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. Hey, Zeke.
What's up?
So we have been talking about bantering a little bit more. We are very, very late in doing a review of 2020. I really hope we do this. We're probably going to do it in March by the time things are going right now. What are you expecting in 2021? We'll talk about this again. We'll expand on it a little bit more, but what big thing do you see happening in 2021?
Thing?
Like, what do you think is going to happen with whiskey?
I mean, I don't know. I think we're going to see more and more startups, a much more, I guess, profound expansion of sourced juice from multiple sources. I definitely see that come in as some of these other folks that have been doing the contract distilling kind of on the side or even blatantly. Quite a few of those places are going to have juice coming of age. And so I think now when you hear the word sourced, you're no longer going to be able to immediately think of, MGP or LDI and Indiana. You're really going to have to look and see where it is. And, I imagine a lot of places are going to tell you and be transparent about it because it's much different times as well in those regards. But I think that'll be one of the biggest things we see.
Funny you you should say that because that is a central theme to tonight's show. And we'll get to that. One thing that I want to bring up that I find interesting because it is already starting to happen. I'm going to give Fred Minnick some credit here. This is one of his predictions he had for 2021. I happen to agree with him. It kind of goes in line with what you're saying too, but he predicted that you are going to see a lot of consolidation. And I think that's the case too, because you have a lot of source brands that have started. They realize it takes a lot of capital because then once you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you have to buy more and more barrels. So you either need to go shop yourself around to sell some of your equity, or some of these bigger companies are just going to eat you right up. So I think you're going to see some of these NDPs that were not prepared for the cold winter warming up by selling off some of their stuff to some of the bigger guys.
Now, I could see that happening, but I think it would be for a much different reason than your train of thought and or Freddie Boys.
Well, you have Devil's River that just entered into a partnership with Sazerac for content and distribution. So they are basically getting some whiskey and getting some help getting it out to people.
So inversely, my thought would be if you're going to see folks selling off and, as you say, consolidate, I think for me, it would be much more of selling out. I think it would be people that got into the whiskey game very much so as folks did with craft beer in the not too distant past, to where a lot of these guys enjoyed what they did. They had fun doing it, but they knew if they reached a certain level to where they had a certain amount of the market share, some big boy would want to buy them up. Is basically a futures type investment. And with bourbon booming, I got a feeling there's a lot of people out there that got money and they see what bourbon's doing. And anybody that's up and coming, the sooner you buy it, you do it before they have a chance to get even bigger, and then it costs your company even more.
So you're saying it's one big flip.
If you do see the consolidation that you're predicting, I wouldn't view it as consolidating. I would view it as a lot of people that saw what was going on, found ways through brokers directly to MGP or Bardstown or whomever, bought some barrels, had some success moving them, hopefully knew what they were doing, blending them and whatnot, put out a decent product. And as soon as they begin to get, notoriety and market shares in different markets and much more in the public eye, somebody's going to make those folks a big boy offer. I mean, hell, in our own backyard, I think Belle Meade's pretty much completely sold out. Our friends over at Nashville Barrel Co., I mean, I don't think they're even officially a year into this. There's been offers. I think you would be surprised on the investment side of things how, many people are out there and just see, they're going to smell blood in the water and go for it.
Well, I think that is one thing that has not been mentioned. But what the bigger rise to me is in the industry right now is the amount of brokers that are getting barrels from bigger distilleries and then getting them out to some of the NDPs. So yes, you're right. Some of that other contract distilling stuff is going to come of age and you're going to see some new players in the game. But you also find these brands acquiring barrels. Take, for example, the 3-chord whiskey drummer that came out last year. Take, for example, a lot of the stuff that comes out of Memphis. You have just brokers finding barrels and putting them out and just saying, this is good stuff. We blended it together. We stand behind it. They know how to blend. I mean, I think there is the difference in NDPs for me now, as even as early as 4 years ago, is the emphasis on blending opposed to just flipping, putting your label on the bottle and getting it out to people.
There are two different things, but back to the point about the 3-chord and others, everyone that's got this 15-year juice coming out right now that's got the mash bill with the 0.5% in it, whether it was or wasn't turkey, who knows? I think it tastes a hell of a lot like it personally, but we'll save that debate for later or offline or something. But regardless, it had to come out of a major distillery. And I mean, I think there's like 5 or 6 or 7 different brands now that keep putting them out. I mean, I saw 2 more in the past 7 days. All of a sudden you're like, what's this label? I've never heard of it. Oh, they got 15-year juice. Oh, the mash bill, 73.5% corn, and then, whatever the other two are. But, it's a 0.5%, so it stands out like a sore thumb. Like, how much of that shit did they make and get passed on or somebody passed on? But the downside to that is, the single barrel aspect of it was lost, and even the blending, from what I understand, because all of it had already been, previously, I don't know if it was blended or just dumped, but it was all in those huge ass, storage vat containers. So when you got it, you just ended up with what you had.
Yeah, I heard it was vatted. I didn't necessarily know if it was blended or not, and that's a bigger question of whether or not you're actually getting a single barrel or if it's something that was pre-blended. I think it was single barrels that were vatted, but again, don't quote me on this.
Them vats are huge. Those vats are huge. There's way more than one barrel in that thing. They're big, dude. I've seen pictures.
Well, you have more info than me.
It's barrel rolls that's why I said I don't know if they were dumped like intentionally ahead of time, like, oh, this would make a good batch, let's just put it in this vat and then put this in this vat, or just, hey dude, 4 barrels, dump them, next 4, dump them, next 4, dump them, keep it rolling, let's go.
Which makes you wonder what could have been if somebody actually got to sit there and blend it or put it out as a single barrel, or just how things would be different. But it's that 0.5% out of all of that really throws you off, because it's not a typical turkey mash bill, but it was distilled in Lawrenceburg. Shit, there's not that many places in Lawrenceburg to go distill.
And 0.5%, like I say, I mean, I don't think anybody does that. So it sticks out like so blaringly. But again, there is a ton of this juice hitting the market. Looks like more is even on the way somehow. I just really wonder, whatever broker landed on this gold mine took it on. I mean, they had to end up with a ton of juice. I mean, literally a ton.
But it begs the question, if it's that old and these other distilleries haven't released it themselves, that's the bigger question for me in 2021. If you find some stuff that's 13, 14, 15, 16 years old and the distillery itself didn't put it out, the distillery that bought it didn't buy it at like 7 years and keep tasting it, why wasn't it released by the original distillery sooner?
Well, whomever made it, it clearly was not their original mash bill. At this point, if you're any of those big boys, you have a brand and a profile that you're very proud of and your consumers expect. So if you go in there and taste it and say, I mean, kind of like a cousin, but it ain't our juice, we don't want to make a separate line for it because we're not making it anymore and it's going to run its course, punt it. We didn't count on this money coming in to begin with.
Fair enough. I think that's a good way of looking at it. But I do like this random bullshit with you about nothing.
Oh, we talked about a lot.
I know we did, but we didn't talk about the whiskey at hand. And before we do that, I want to let you know about our good friends over at action247.com. It is the only sports book in Tennessee by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. That means if you live outside of Tennessee, this is not the sports book for you. Zeke went ahead and signed up before the national championship game. He used code DADS100. And that means if you use that code, Action247 is going to double your first deposit up to $100. So Zeke deposited $100. He got $200. He put that all on Bama, and he ended up coming home with $374. Congratulations, Zeke Baker.
Hey, I even forgot that me and Bellino had a bet in one of the boards. We split it. That's 50 more bucks came my way. Whoop, whoop.
Now, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to try to parlay that into some more? Are you going to bet the NFL this weekend?
Man, NFL, I've never had any luck there. I mean, it's too sporadic for a reason. I'll take my chances here and there and drag it on out a little bit. I don't bet all the time, but every now and then you get an itch for something or hear of an angle you might want to put a little money on. So at least now I've got a go-to place to do it.
Well, the NHL is coming back. We have the NFL playoffs this weekend. We have Brady versus Breeze. I think that's going to be a hell of a matchup. You have the Browns coming out like crazy. How about the Bills? The Bills have their first playoff win in forever. Are they going to ride that momentum?
Well, yeah, but didn't the quarterback hurt his hand or something? They're definitely not the same team that you saw play the beginning of the season by any means.
Josh Allen got hurt earlier in the year, but I did not see anything about another.
Oh, no, it's one of their running backs that's out. He got hurt. That's what it was. I knew it was something. It's tough to keep up with all this stuff and chase the kids and work and shit.
Well, it is Zach Moss for the rest of the playoffs due to an ankle injury. So that is what happened. Going to be a crazy weekend. If you're looking for action, you found the right place. Go to action247.com. Use code DADS100 to get your first deposit matched up to $100. We're happy to have those guys on. I like that it allows Zeke and I to talk a little bit about some other stuff. I'm going to put my money on Brady and those Bucks beating the Saints.
Oh, John Boy's going to lay down on the action, huh?
I'm getting in on the action. Let's do it.
Well, we'll see how this goes. I set the bar pretty high for you.
Getting to the whiskey. This is a really cool looking bottle. It's actually kind of a cartoonish looking bottle. They did such a good job drawing storefronts, and then you actually have Daddy Rack himself on the front, and this is Daddy Rack Tennessee Straight Whiskey. The reason I find this so interesting is exactly for the reason that Zeke brought up earlier about what he predicted in 2021. I kind of set him up for this without letting him know. This is all corn sourced from local farmers, Columbia, Tennessee, 80% level 1 corn, 10% rye, 10% malted barley. It is double mellowed through maple charcoal. The production is hand finished, double charcoal filtered, double mellowed, and it was distilled and mellowed in Columbia, Tennessee by Daddy Rack Whiskey Company. Did I already mention that this is 40% ABV, 80 proof?
I don't know, but did you say it was all corn or just locally sourced corn?
All corn sourced from local farmers. So it's all Tennessee corn. It's 80% corn, 10% rye, 10% malted barley. There is only one distillery I know in Columbia, Tennessee, and that is TDC, or Tennessee Distilling Company. A lot of people that live in Tennessee know about TDC, but it has flown under the radar for years, and they have been down there cooking up a storm. Some of their stuff, you may have already had it and not known. This is the first bottle that I'm actually seeing that proudly says this was distilled and bottled in Columbia, Tennessee.
So who put this out, though?
Daddy Rack Whiskey.
Oh, okay.
So Daddy Rack Tennessee Whiskey is the project of J. Arthur Rackham, a local whiskey lover who's said to have more than 30 years of experience working with distillers and cellar masters across Europe. He used his gain stills around spirits blending, developing an offering whereby all barrels chosen for Daddy Rack are aged for a minimum of 3 years, then meticulously blended by Daddy Rackham to produce this beautiful 80 proof whiskey made with grade 1 locally farmed corn, sour mash fermentation, and lightly rectified copper double distillation. The same care is taken with the filtration process. Daddy Rack is filtered using the Lincoln County process before aging in new charred American oak barrels. Each small batch comes from only 20 barrels blended to perfection, says the company. As straight whiskey, no coloring, caramel, or additional flavors are ever added. Just before bottling, every batch is double mellowed for maximum smoothness. Yes, it's 80 proof, a little lower than what we would like. It's only $30 a bottle.
There you go. Old Lincoln County method in there too, huh?
Yeah. The name Daddy Rack is a nickname Rackham was given by his eldest daughter, Grace.
Quite the story. You know what they say about stories late at night, right?
No.
Put you right to sleep.
Well, thankfully, the people listening are probably going to be listening during the day. I hope I did not put them to sleep while they were driving cars.
I hope so. Hey, my head about hit the counter over here.
Well, I'm trying to give you as much information as I can because I know I know you know nothing about this whiskey.
Well, to a degree, I laugh at some of these folks that have, an extremely elaborate or intricate story, especially over a sourced whiskey. I don't know. I'm not sure what the amount of consumers are that take the time to read such a lengthy label, I guess.
Well, they don't read it. They just listen to me.
Oof. Tough days right there.
I think you have to have some marketing behind it, right? You think about all these different NDPs that are coming out. I almost feel like John Madden, 90% of the game is half mental. 90% of the game is half marketing when it comes to whiskey. I mean, you have to differentiate yourself from the people down the street. Now, I love the fact that they are transparent about sourcing. I wish more companies would do that. I wish more companies would say, like, listen, we tried to distill this ourselves. Shit's hard. We went and got some other whiskey, and then we're going to learn how to distill and come back to it. Just something, or just shit's hard to make a distillery, so we went and sourced it to get ourselves going. Like, I just wish there was complete transparency. I think people would identify with the fact that whiskey is hard, or identify with the fact that, like, people couldn't just go start a distillery themselves. They had to be an NDP. They had to get a still that's expensive, and it was cheaper for them to get things going by going to buy some whiskey. Like, whatever the story is, I think the genuine story is more interesting than anything anyone could make up.
Yeah, Yeah, and I mean, even inside of, contract distilling and sourcing, however you want to look at it, I mean, there's so many nuances and variables that you can plug and play in there. I personally don't see how it would not make sense to go that route versus trying to take on all the overhead, all that work and labor and stuff yourself, especially if it's not something you're well versed in. Then you've got to hire somebody that even knows how to do it, and you're not sure how good they could be at it versus, I mean, it's just like a co-op to me. I think it's a great synergy for the industry.
You bastard, don't tell people my idea. I think we need to do a distillery co-op. And we just get one still, we get a bunch of people together, everybody can run their brand off of it. So it's like a big contract distill, but we all own it.
Well, I mean, basically that's what all these places are doing between Columbia, Bardstown, but some of the big boys.
But the parent company's making all the money. What if it was a co-op and we all shared it?
The parent company's not making all the money. I mean, you're telling me MGP is the only people that got rich off their juice?
No, but they're making money off of the people using the still.
Well, exactly. That's part of the fee for service. That's the same thing here.
I guess. I don't know. Anyways, what do you think about this whiskey?
Being 80 proof, there wasn't a lot of diversity or range. Also, being a young product, I will say for being young juice, I did find it better than expected. I think the proof definitely helps mask some of the nuances of being younger that would be there. You might catch a little hint of something here and there. Tasting this juice nose-wise, I put very simply, it was sweet like caramel and corn. Almost kind of remind me of a box of Cracker Jacks. Maybe a little bit nutty in there. I kind of went there with it. That or, any other little just, caramel corn, but a light caramel glaze on it. Palate-wise, just found it was sweet and simple. Had a very faint singe at the back of the tongue. I'll let you do notes before we can ramble on this for a minute if you want. But to me, I kind of went to a space in my head of, I think this is probably a good reflection of what whiskey was way back in the day when nobody took notes, nobody cared about it. They were just drinking because they enjoyed it. And at the end of a hard day, they needed a pour or two. Because this isn't offensive in any way. The proof's not strong. Again, it doesn't have the biggest array of flavors, but it don't taste bad at all. I mean, you just sit around, have a couple pours of this, and it's just basically, to me, good sweet corn whiskey that, had a little bit of charred oak put to it just to round it out a little bit.
I agree with that. I think that is a great sentiment. I want to come back to that. I would say that this is probably the shortest notes that I have ever given to a whiskey that we have reviewed. Nose, I said banana, corn, Cracker Jack. I agreed with you on the Cracker Jack. The taste, I said noticeable corn, but I think Jack and George had a baby here. You take some of the aspects of Jack, like the banana, the Brown Foreman aspect of it. You take the corn from Dickel and you put it together. It's got corn, but it's not that off-putting corn that I knew you would hate. Like, you notice it's corn and it's not one of those things where it's raw, cooked, or uncooked corn. It's like just the fact that corn is a note. I have to applaud them for blending this together well so that corn is there, but it's not like there. It's just a part of the tasting notes. Finish, I said, it goes down real easy. Going back to your point, I think that a lot of it has to do with the mellowing process here. The fact that things aren't that dominant, it's the blending of the 20 barrels and the mellowing process. The double mellowing process has really made this just an easy sipper. It's just something, exactly what you said. You don't want to think too much. You just want to drink and have a couple pours. It's a good thing to have on the shelf for that.
Yeah, I mean, very easy. Be one of those things for folks that, don't necessarily like whiskey or may say they don't like bourbon. I think most people would have a hard time not enjoying that. I mean, it's just really simple and easy. Be something you have when you're, you going fishing or some kind of like, weekend in the woods to where you don't have to worry about anything or be overly responsible, but you still don't want to get snookered.
I think it's a good thing, too, if you have a bunch of friends over, you're not sure how they're going to take their pours, right? You might have some friends over. Some people drink it neat. Some people drink it on the rocks. Some people mix it. You're not going to feel bad for putting a $30 bottle on the table and letting anybody enjoy it however way they want to do it.
True story, bro.
Yeah, bro.
But no, I mean, I do. I think this would be pretty symbolic of way back in the day kind of stuff to where nobody cared or wanted that high proof or high octane stuff because it was all viewed as being hot. They just wanted something sweet and easy that went down. Well, there you go.
I think it's funny that we found something that had some corn that Zeke Baker likes.
I've had a few things. I've liked, obviously some of the younger pinhooks that Sean's put out. I've been a big fan of. Obviously, I love the high corn recipe from Willett. I've said time and time again, at least so far, I still think that's easily the best mash bill that they've been putting out for some time. So I'm not totally against it. I mean, I guess it just depends on where it comes from or, how and who's cooking it and whatnot. It's not a deal breaker for me like some things. It's not like a peated note, but you can tell, when folks get good quality stuff or, like I say, know what they're doing when they're making it.
So I think for $30, it's safe to say that we are both a buy. I think the bigger thing here and the bigger story for me on this one is, if you all don't know about TDC, this is a great slap in the face and just being like, there is a bunch of awesome stuff going on in Columbia, Tennessee.
When you see distilled in Tennessee, you can't just assume one spot anymore.
Nope. They have some stuff that's older than 3 years as well. There's so much good stuff that Mike has going on at TDC down in Columbia, and it is not just a place to go get coffee and ice cream. Muletown Coffee is down there. Really enjoy it, as well as Hattie Jane's. I take Sophia down there. It's like a 25-minute drive here from where I am. Muletown Coffee is great. And that Hattie Jane's Creamery, she loves the ice cream from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely her that's wanting to go there every time. You don't instigate it or relish in that in any way, I'm sure.
No days off.
I probably don't even get a scoop of the ice cream anymore, do you? Psych.
You know what I do, though? I will tell you, I get a scoop of the ice cream, but I have now resorted to getting 2 kid sizes. So I want like a little taste of the ice cream, but I don't want to undo everything I'm doing at the gym. So I get 2 kids scoops of stuff. One for her, one for me.
They don't have like gelato?
No. Does it sound like an Italian place?
I don't know. It sounds like a healthy option. I mean, I think most of the ones here in town that are ice cream, heavy, all have some kind of alternate option or fat-free option or something.
Gelato is actually worse for you than ice cream. Froyo.
I mean, what? No, there's something else I'm thinking of then. I don't know.
There's keto ice cream that isn't so bad for you.
I'm not that smart for sure. Maybe it's just fat-free.
Anyways, hats off to Daddy Rack. We're both a buy. I'm safe to say that, right, Zeke?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stockpile it, or I don't think I'll need to buy more than one, but it's an interesting little bottle and definitely good for when folks come over and you just want something simple you can pour that's going to mix good with anything. And at $30, it's not going to hurt you too bad.
No, I'm with you. It's not something I'm going to grab every night. I think it's sweet. I like it enough. It's one of those ones that you grab when friends come over. That is where I see the sweet spot.
That or serve that with, some kind of dessert like a hot pecan pie or something.
Oh, I like what you're putting down.
See, buds, I'm all over this.
Thank you, Daddy Rack, for sending us this bottle. By no means does it affect our review. We actually genuinely liked it. The folks can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider. Chances are you already have because you're listening to us right now. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Nashville, Tennessee, up, down, all around.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Happy birthday, Zeke.